Hello, my name is Andriana Boudouraki, and I'm from the University of Nottingham's Mixed Reality Lab. My co-authors and PhD supervisors are Joel Fischer, Stuart Reeves, and Rintel. So our case study is called Your Mileage May Vary, a case study of a robotic telepresence pilot rollout for a hybrid knowledge work organization. In the recent years, following the COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen a shift towards more hybrid and remote work, with knowledge workers especially showing strong preference for more flexible ways of working. In doing so, however, we sacrifice the social interactions that happen between colleagues outside of work meetings, such as water cooler conversations, and which are also beneficial for collaboration and productivity. One possible solution is the use of mobile robotic telepresence systems. These combine video conferencing with a simple, remotely controlled robotic body so that a remote user can drive around and independently move in space. So, what does it take to use such robots in an office? This is what we report here. We deployed 5 telepresence robots by Boudouraki Robotics in the offices of Microsoft Research. But to make them available for employees to use freely, we first had to go through a health and safety assessment process, which nudged us to consider the accessibility, security, and safety of the robots and put in place systems to manage them. We also had to work with various other teams, such as IT and facilities. We outlined the process in the paper, but I will briefly mention some of the things we did here. One of the first things that came up during the assessment was accessibility. We realized that the robots move so quietly that unless the person driving them is speaking, it was impossible for a blind employee to know that the robot was nearby. To correct this, we taped cat bells on the wheels of the robots so that the bell chimed with each wheel rotation, indicating that the robot is moving. A blind employee working on site reported that this helped her know when a robot was passing by her or was near her, without being too distracting. Other sighted employees also commented on liking the bells and said that they had previously found the quiet movement of the robots also unsettling. So we proposed that a sound feature like that could be part of future designs of telepresence robots. However, we also discovered that a blind person could not use the robots as a remote user. So in the future, features that are used to make virtual spaces accessible to blind and visually impaired users could also be implemented in robotic telepresence. Finally, we did not have the opportunity to examine the accessibility of the robots for other types of needs. Another consideration was the safety of the robots. So the robots are quite light and move slowly, and they have collision avoidance, so they pose minimal risk of causing injury to people in the environment. However, between uses, the robots need to be driven back to their docks so that they can charge and be available to other people who might want to use them. It is also important not to leave the robots undocked so that they don't accidentally block fire exit pathways. So to ensure this, we repeated the instruction to always dock the robots between uses in all our instructional material, but we also asked facilities to dock any robots that they find unattended, and we posted instructions on the back of each robot instructing employees on site on how to move the robot out of the way. In those instructions, we had to make sure that people don't accidentally move the robots that are in use, and that they don't move the robots in ways that damage them. So we had to negotiate a balance between keeping the space safe, keeping the robots usable, and respecting the remote users. So there's a whole other discussion to be had about the appropriateness of picking up the robots while someone else is using them. Finally, another key challenge was the placement of the robots and their docking stations. So, for safety reasons, the robots could not be in locations that obstruct fire exit pathways, so they could not be in hallways, basically. They could also not be placed so as to have cables running across the floor to avoid causing a tripping hazard. In addition, we wanted to place them near areas where people intended to use them to reduce time spent driving, as well as in areas with strong internet connection so that people would not experience lagging as soon as they start using them. We also needed to place them in areas with enough free space around so that people could easily drive them in and out of the docking stations. And we wanted to avoid areas with a lot of open plan desks where the robot might be distracting to people working there. So every floor in the building had a different layout and different users. And we could not always find a location that fit all of those needs. We sometimes had to sacrifice usability for safety. After all this, we found that use of the robots was lower than what we had expected. Whilst 15 people signed up to use the robots, some did not use them or stopped using them after a few times. We suspect that the effort to use yet another mode of communication was too high compared to the value they added for employees, and that overall the robots did not really fit with the employees' needs and work practices. However, a closer examination of this is needed. We do not want to discourage other organizations from adopting robotic telepresence technologies. Quite the opposite, we hope that in sharing this work, we help other organizations better prepare for such deployments. Overall, this case study showed us that there are many considerations in play when bringing robotic technology into an office space. It raised questions on who should be responsible for managing all the work required to make the robots work. We also want to highlight that current spaces are not designed with robots in mind, and that is something that future hybrid spaces should consider. In addition, future deployments should work more closely with employees to understand what exactly are their needs and how might bring new technology fit in with their daily life at work. Thank you very much, and please feel free to reach out for any questions.